4.3. In this sessions, we're gonna solve value mixture, percent mixtures, and simple interest type of application that we saw in 2.2 by a system of equation. So the formula doesn't change, right? Oh, my bad, I take it back, 2.4. Yeah. So the formula doesn't change. So for example, for the value mixture problems, the formula is quantity times the unit price is equal to the total value. Right? But this time we're going to be using two variable and system of equation to solve. So like in previous example, we're going to do previous sessions, we're going to do four-step format. Okay? So first example, let's take a minute to read this. So the tickets office at the zoo sold 553 tickets one day, and the receipt is a total of 3,936. How many $9 adult tickets and how many $6 children tickets are sold? So our first step will be defining unknowns. So in this case, we don't know the numbers of adult tickets. So, and we don't know the numbers of child tickets, so two of them. So I would say that it will be A and C. Now, the second step, setting up an equation. So in this case, what we know is one, we know the total of how many tickets sold. That's one case, which is right here. And we know the total money that we received. So that allows us to think about two different equations. One will be based off on numbers of tickets sold, and another equation will be based off on total dollar amounts. So how do we set it up equations? So we know that the adult tickets plus the children tickets together, that must be equal to 553. And the money, to talk about the money, I have to use the formula because the quantity times the unit price will give you the total value. So $9 times the numbers of adult tickets sold, that will give me a dollar amount. And then $6 times the numbers of children tickets sold, that will be also give me a dollar amount. These $2 amount added up should be equal to 39.36. So now we have two equations, so we can solve either method that you want to use. So solve by substitution method or elimination method is really up to you. For this problem, I will use elimination method. I will eliminate C, which I'm gonna multiply the first equation by -6. So this gives us -6a minus 6c is equal to, now you can use your calculator and multiply 553 times with 6, that gives us -3,318. And the second equation is 9a plus 6c equal to 3,936. Added up these two equations together, this gives us 3a, that is equal to, so 3,936 taking away 3,318, that gives us 618. And dividing by 3 on both sides, that will become 206. So now we found out how many adult tickets were sold. So continue to find out the children tickets. So I will use the first equation. A plus C is equal to 553. And I know that my A, the numbers of adult ticket, is 206, right? Adding with the number of children will be equal to 553. So therefore my C is equal to, so 553 take away 206, that gives us 347. So finally I can do the interpretation, my step 4. Uh, I can say that 206, right? Adult tickets and 347 child tickets were sold. So that will be our first example. So now move to the next example, example 2. So in this example, let's say that person collect nickels and quarters, and the total dollar amounts on that collection is $7.30. And it said that the numbers of nickel is 6 less than 3 times the numbers of quarter. So now we want to know how many quarters and how many nickels are in the collections. So my first step, which we don't know, is the number of nickels and the numbers of quarters. So let the numbers of nickel to be N, let the numbers of quarter to be Q. Second step, standard up equations. And it said that the total dollar amounts on this collection is $7.30. So one of the equation that I can set it up is on the dollar amount. And there's another statement that tells you in the second sentence, it tells you there is a relation between the nickels and then what? The quarter. See the numbers of it. So that means we can set it up on the quantity part. So we can say that numbers of coins, right? We can set it up on the numbers of coin part. So let's take a look at on the first equation. So $7.30. So nickel, each nickel is 5 cents, so it will be 0.05 times with the numbers of nickel, that dollar amount, plus the quarter is 25 cents, so 0.25 times the numbers of quarter. That should be equal to $7.30. So we set it up on the dollar amount part right here. Now the second step is based off on the numbers of coin. So it said that the numbers of nickel, so the numbers of nickel is me equal to 6 less than 3 times the numbers of quarter. So 3 times the numbers of quarter and then 6 less than of it. So that give us a system of equations, and then we can use substitution method to solve for it. So that will be 0.05 n plus 0.25 q equal to 7.30. And I'm going to be substituting n with 3q minus 6, so 0.05 times with 3q minus 6 plus 0.25q equal to 730. So use your calculator, right? So that way you will make less mistake. And when you distribute it 0.05, that will become 0.15 q and minus 0.30 plus 0.25 q equal to 730. Simplifying it, that gave us negative 0.30 plus 0.15 times 0.25. That will give me 0.40q equal to 7.30. Now adding 0.30 to both sides, that gives us 7.60 on the right hand side. And finally divide both sides by 0.40. So 7.60 divided by 0.40, that gives us 19. So now we know that there are a total of 19 quarters. I need to know the nickel, so I'm going to substitute into this equation. So n is equal to 3q minus 6. N is equal to 3 times 19 minus what? 6. So therefore my n is equal to 3 times 19. That gives us 57 minus 6. So n is equal to 51. So now I can do the interpretation, my step 4. So how many nickels and how many quarter he have? So I should say that he has 51 nickels, right? And 19 quarters. That will be the final answer for this example. So moving on to the next example. Example 3. So in this example, we are trying to make 5 pounds of nuts missing nut mix using peanuts and cashew. So we are trying to make, so we know that this is a mixture, and using what? Using these two different types, peanuts and then cashew. So we know that two different types are mixing together. Okay? So continuing this, her budget to get the mixture $6 per pound, and she's using $4 per pound of peanuts and then $9 per pound of cashew. So now the question is how many pounds of each type should she use, right? So step 1, what we don't know is the numbers of pounds of peanuts and the numbers of pounds of cashew. That's the unknown. So we can say that P and C. So now we're going to set up the equations. We know that she wants to make 5 pounds of the mixing. So the first one will be, the first equation can be set up numbers of pound. And the second equation will be like before, we need to talk about in dollar amounts, because the dollar amount that's spent on the mixture must be the same as each combined. So the numbers of pounds of peanuts plus the numbers of pounds of cashew, that must be equal to 5 pounds. Right? That's from the first sentence. Now we can talk about the dollar amount. So how much is going to cost for peanuts? That's what we need to know. So $4 per pound times with the numbers of pounds of peanuts. And then $9 per pound of cashew times with the numbers of pounds of cashews. So these two costs together added up should be equal to the cost of the mixture, which is $6 per pound times with total of 5 pounds. You have to be careful on this second equation, because a lot of times in the past I see that students forget to multiply by 5, because $6 only talk about per pounds, not for 5 pounds. Okay. So finally, once we get this system, then we can solve it. substitution, eliminations, really up to you. In this problem, I will use elimination method, which is multiplying the first equation by -4 to eliminate my p. So this gives us my step 3, -4p minus 4c is equal to -20. 4p plus 9c equal to 5 times 6 is 30. Added up two equations together, that gave us 5c, because p eliminated, equal to 10. So c is equal to 2. Now I can find out what is my p by substituting back into the first equation. P plus c equal to 5. So therefore, p plus 2 equal to 5. And finally, I got my p is equal to 3. Interpretations for, I should say that, need 3 pounds of peanuts and 2 pounds of cashew. And that will be the final answer for third examples. Now we're going to move into the value, the percent mixture, right? The value mixture is done, so we're going to move into percent mixture. The percent mixture is using the same formula, right? Concentration times the quantity equal to the amount of the substance that you can get. So example 4. So a person needs 150 milliliters of 25% solutions of hydrochloric acids for a lab experiment, and the lab only has 10% solutions and 40% solution. So we need to mix those 10% solution, 40% solution to get 25. Okay. Now the question is asking you how much of 10% and how much of 40% solution do we need to mix it? So in this problem, step 1, what we don't know is the numbers of milliliter, right, of 10% solution, and we don't know the numbers of milliliters of 40% solution. So let that be x and y. Or, you can use what we talked about in the past, which is, remember this cup? Maybe this is better for you to remember. This is the mixture that we want, right? And we have what? Type 1, and we have type 2. And type 1, we need X amount and a Y amount, and the concentration is 10%, and then concentration is 40%, and the mixture is concentration is 25%, and then we need what? 150 milliliters. Maybe you like it this one better, okay? What we basically did before. And now we're gonna set it up equations, which is, you know that you can, from the diagram is much easier. That from the diagram you can see that already, the quantity, right here, this part, the quantity is already giving you one equations already. So which is what? X amount plus Y amount must be equal to what? The amount of the mixture, which is 150. And the next one that you're gonna do is set it up on the amount of substance. So amount of substance is quantity times the concentration. So the type 1 will be 0.10% times with the quantity, and the second type will be 0.40 times Y. So these two amount of substance combined together should be equal to the amount of substance in the mixture, which is 0.25 times 150. That is the amount of substance. So we are setting up in on two different things, right? One is the quantity, and one is the amount of substance. So it's very similar to what we did before, but just in two variables this time. So finally, I can continue solving, right, these equations. Uh, Substitution, elimination doesn't really matter. If I want to do the eliminations, I'm going to multiply by 0.10 to the first equation. That will give me my negative 0.10x minus 0.10y is equal to negative, when you multiply by 150 times with 0.10, that gives you 15. Okay, so 0.10x plus 0.40y is equal to, when you multiply 150 times with 0.25, that'll give me 37.5. And now you add these two equations together, that gives me x is eliminated. It will be 0.30y is equal to 37.5 take away 15, that gives me 22.5. And divide both sides by 0.30 using the calculator, that gives me 75. So now I know that my variable y is 75. So to find out x, so x plus y, substitute into the first equation. So x plus y equal to 150, and my y is 75. Okay. So subtracting 75 on both sides, that gives me also 75. So we need the same amount of those two together. So finally, the interpretation, step 4, we need 75 milliliter of each type, period. So that will be my final answer for this problem. So moving on to the next example. Oh, let's skip example number 5. This example is from the previous sessions. I don't know how do I got right here. So let's cross it out and then move on to the investment problem. So investment problem, you have to remember the formula. Simple interest is equal to principal time interest rate time, the time. So we're gonna try to use that formula in here, but this time using two variables. So example number 6, try to invest 50,000 and hopes to earn that 6.2 interest per year. So that means like the interest earned at the end will be 6.2% of this 50,000. So this wording is slightly uh, difficult. Okay? And he put some of the money into stock fund that earns 7%, and then some of them in a saving account, which is 2%. So how much money he should put in each fund? So first step, what we don't know is the amount of money, right? So I should say that the dollar invested in stock and dollar invested in saving. Let's make it short. So let that be X and let that be Y. So my second step, so these two investment should be equal to 50,000, right? What you originally have, because you cannot go over 50,000. So that means X plus Y must be equal to what? 50,000. That's your principal. And now the second part the second equation, what we want to talk about is on interest earned, right? So the interest earned, so for the first account is 7%. So the interest earned for the first account will be 0.07, right? Interest rate time the principal, which is the amount that you invested. Only 1 year, so it'll be 1. We don't need to write it down. That will be the interest earned on the stocks. And then the interest on a saving, it will be what? The interest rate is 0.02, which is 2%, times y, the principal. So these two interests added up should be equal to what he wants, which is 6.2% of the total investment, 5,000, 50,000. So it will be 0.062 times with 50,000. That will be the setup equation for the investment. So now, using the elimination method, I'm going to multiply the first equations by negative 0.02 to eliminate y. So this gives us, on the next step, this gives us negative 0.02x minus 0.02y is equal to, when you multiply by 0.02 to this will be 10, 1000, right? So 0.07x plus 0.02y equal to, so now I'm going to use a calculator to multiply 50,000 times with 0.062. That gives us 3,100. And we add these two equations together. So this will eliminate variable y, and I will get 0.05x is equal to 2100. And dividing both sides by 0.08, 0.05, my bad. That will give me 42,000. So now that we know the amount of the value of x, then I can find out the value of y, which is x plus y is equal to 50,000. And the value of x is 42,000. So subtracting both sides by 42,000, my y is 8,000. So that allow us to do the interpretations, right? X is representing the investment in stock, Y is representing in the saving. So step 4, I can say that invested $42,000 in stocks and 8,000 in saving to earn that interest. And this will be my final interpretation for this example 6. So let's take a look at on the next example, example number 7. So example 7, Laura owes 18,000 on her student loans. The interest rate on a bank loan is 2.5%. The interest on federal loan is 6.9%. The total amount of interest she paid last year was 1,066. What was the principal of each loan? So in this case, we don't know what is the amount of loan that took in each case. So uh, first step will be the dollar, right? Loan from bank, and the other one is dollar loan from federal. So let's bank be B and then federal be what? F. Step 2, the bank plus federal, that must be a total of 18,000 that she loaned it. That's the first. Because you cannot go over 18 or it cannot be less than 18, right? We're talking about from last. So now the interest. So the bank charge interest of 2.5. So in 1 year, that will be 0.025 times with the principal, which is how much is in the bank loan, plus 0.069% on the federal interest rate. That will give me the interest. That should be equal to what? How much she paid on the last year, which is 1066. So this is on interest, right? So the rate times the principal in a 1 year, and rate time the principal, which is the another bank, and that is equal to the interest. So now we're gonna solve this system, and doesn't matter you use elimination method or substitution method. I think elimination method is the best in this case. Again, I'm gonna eliminate b this time, so multiply by negative 0.025. So you can use a calculator, so decimal number fraction should not be a problem. Okay, so negative 0.025b minus 0.025f is equal to, now we're gonna have to multiply 18,000 times with 0.025, which is negative 450, and then the second equation stay the same. So we add these two equations to eliminate b. So b got eliminated, so that will give me 0.044f is equal to, and 1066 take away 450, that will give me 616. And now you divide both sides by 0.044, so that gives me 14,000. So now that we know the federal loan amounts, now we want to find out what is the bank loan amount. So it will be B plus F is equal to 18,000. So B plus 14,000 is equal to 18,000. So finally, I know that bank loan amount will be what? 4,000 after subtracting 14,000 on both sides. Finally, we can interpret it. Right? What are the principal of each loan she owes, right? 4,000 to bank and $14,000 to federal. And that will be my final answer for this example. And this will be the end of the section.